What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. So I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of a backstory about how I came upon a 2016 Husqvarna 125. It's a TE version. I bought this thing for $1,000. There was a nice little family down the block that was having a garage sale. Tried not to freak out at the time. Thought it was a pretty good deal considering it's a 2016. It was in pretty good condition from what I could see from it. Drove the bike, it shifted through all the gears, made sure there wasn't any major leaks that I could see. So $1,000 for a running and driving 2016 Husqvarna TE 125. Let me show you guys what that looks like. So this is the bike. As you can see, there's scratches on some of the plastics. These things, the hand guards have taken a majority of the abuse. Same thing with the grips. Back of the plastics, a little bit dirty. So right there, TE 125 2016, made in Austria. And yeah, so I mean, this thing, it is, it's pretty fun. I've driven it a couple times. It does have the hydraulic clutch, which is mineral oil only. You've got the engine kill right here. You got the speedometer, basically everything that you would want from a digital readout. It does need a replacement battery. On the back side, they have got one of those little coin-sized batteries. So I've got to replace that. Nice shocks. I've never owned a dirt bike before, so I assume that this particular shock setup comes on most of the modern dirt bikes for compression and rebound. It does come with Brembos on it. Of course, the headlight for the TE version. So this is more of like an enduro bike. It's got Shenko tires on it. Brembo calipers. I believe it comes stock with that meth pipe on it. I don't believe he changed it out, and then it's got just the stock Husqvarna silencer. It is pretty quiet until you start to get into the higher RPMs. Of course, WP suspension. Same thing in the back. I believe that is a stock sprocket. And then it's got some, various stickers on it. Now I have driven this thing out in the desert 2 or 3 times. So since I've had it, it definitely is dusty, but I wanted to put it through its paces and kind of see what this thing's all about. Like I said, I've never owned a dirt bike. I've ridden some of the smaller ones, 80s, 90s, little pit bikes. For a 125, I assumed it's gonna be a little bit slower because you've got the 250s, the 450s, and this thing, it gets it. Now, I get why guys love 125s now. A lot of the Yamaha guys, or even the Suzuki guys, you ask them what is their favorite bike to ride, and first and foremost, it's always the 125s, 2 strokes anyways, because they get it. I've fallen in love with the bike, and it's pretty cool. So I've got a little bit of plans to kind of spruce this thing up, but I like it. I mean, if I really want to stick with riding dirt bikes, I think I would probably invest in maybe a Yamaha or a Suzuki 125. I mean, heck, this thing is pretty cool as is. So I've enjoyed riding it the couple times that I have. However, as stated, there's some things that I need to get done to it. So I need to replace the grips. So I've got new grips, so we can go and swap those out. There is one thing as far as fluid leaking that I have discovered. So you're gonna see I've had this little shop napkin placed underneath, and not surprising to anybody that's owned an Austrian bike, whether it's KTM or Husky, you've got the clutch slave cylinder. It is leaking. So I've actually taken off the guard right there, and I've made sure that all of the bolts that hold that cylinder in are tightened. There's 3 of them. You've got this one right here, you've got this one, and then there's one kind of tucked up behind there. All of them are basically tightened down to the service manual specifications, and it still leaks out a little bit. So I've ordered a new gasket. I do have some new hydraulic mineral oil fluid. It doesn't take .3 like a KTM would. It's specific to this particular clutch and cylinder. So this one's a Magura. This one takes mineral oil only. I was gonna get some of the red blood. However, I found some mineral oil made for clutches. I believe it's from Motorex, from my local power sports dealer. So we're gonna go ahead and use that. So what we're gonna do in this video is we're gonna go ahead and replace the gasket for this, put it back on, and then we're gonna go take this thing for a ride. So let me set you guys up and let's get to disassembling this. All right, so first things first, we need to extract the fluid that is currently in the clutch cylinder. So we're gonna go ahead and crack open the bleeder screw. And I used a 5/16 side. Got these at Harbor Freight. Most of these clutch kits that you see on the market are basically just syringes. And I had this old school metal one, stainless steel, and just attached a clear hose to it. And I'm gonna inject all the fluid from above. And I already have the plate up top that connects to the clutch master opened up. And we're just withdrawing fluid. So now that we've drained most of the fluid, we're gonna go ahead and take off this guard because it is holding in the slave cylinder along with the other bolts here. So this is a T30. I'm gonna go ahead and zip this off. And then we have one that's on the back side that's connected to the frame here. You can actually see it. This one is a T40. Now we're back to the T30. So this is the back side. Here's the gasket. Looks like it's in relatively good shape. There's a little bit of wear on the outside of this. I'm gonna go ahead and get that cleaned with some brake clean. Get this area cleaned off as well. And we'll put the new gasket back on. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and wipe off the surfaces where the gasket would make contact. And off camera, in some of the little crevices, I just use the pick tool to kind of clean them out. I looked at the old gasket and it actually looked like it was in reasonable shape. So I'm not quite sure where the leak was coming from. On the back side of this, everything looks like it's in working order. The only thing that gave me pause is on the back side of this. It looks like this metal's chewed up just a little bit there. I don't know if somebody was like digging at that. I can see how that might allow some fluid to escape, but I'm gonna try to go ahead and clean this edge up right here as best I can, and then we're gonna reinstall it. Okay, we're back. Basically what I did is I just kind of smoothed off the surface a little bit just so there wasn't any jagged edge. I would have to assume that if this was the issue, that the seal that this edge creates against the inside lip right here, because it is somewhat of an angle, I guess it's almost like a slip fit, that if that was the issue, then it's gonna happen again, and then I'm gonna have to replace this whole slave cylinder. which is not a big deal. We'll go ahead and do that. But by knocking down that edge and making it somewhat smooth, I'm hoping that maybe it'll sit flush the way that it needs to. I'm gonna go ahead and put the new gasket on, put this back on, torque it to spec, make sure that this is tightened as well so that there wasn't any leaks coming out of this. I didn't see any before when it was dried off, but you never know. So let's get this put back on. According to technical data in the service manual, it says these need to get torqued down to, specifically for the slave cylinder, 10 Newton meters. So that's what, 7.3 something. So we'll say 7.4 foot-pounds. It does also say to use Loctite 243. I've got Loctite 242. It's just blue. I'm just gonna put a little bit on the threads. And then we're gonna go ahead and screw them in there lightly. This is setting 1, just to it stops, and then I'm gonna back out the bottom. Same thing on the bottom. Put it back in its home. Give it a very light torque. Okay, and then we're gonna go ahead and apply the top one with the guard, because that seals this top of the slave cylinder, and then we will reapply the fluid. All right, so with the guard temporarily in place, I can go ahead and torque down these 2 bolts right here, and then when I'm done, I'll slide back the top one, go ahead and get it torqued down, and then we're gonna get the back side. So I'm gonna be using this Harbor Freight Quinn torque gauge. This particular one, I've got it set to a max of 7.4 foot-pounds, roughly 10 Newton meters. I'll probably stop around 7. Since I've got blue Loctite in here, they shouldn't really back out. 274. Get the top one in place. Okay, now that that's done, let's go ahead and put the fluid back in. We're gonna go ahead and open up this bleed screw. We're gonna attach it to the syringe, which is gonna be filled with the mineral oil. We do have the cap on the top of the master cylinder open, and I'm just gonna force fluid through here, up through the line. It'll come through and it'll start to basically fill the top. And I'm gonna do that until it gets to the very top. Once that's done, I'm gonna go ahead and actuate the lever, and that should clear out most of the bubbles. We are using hydraulic fluid 75 mineral oil for Motorex. And we're gonna start to force fluid through it. So now I think it's time to go ahead and put the cover back on. We're gonna go ahead and put the screws in. All right, I don't have a way to take you guys with me, so I'm just gonna start it up and I'm gonna take it around the block. All right, guys, just finished the ride, and I gotta say, this thing absolutely rips. Goes through all the gears perfectly. I've got no issues with the clutch engagement, no slipping, anything of that nature, nice and crisp. Clutch lever definitely has some resistance to it now, whereas before, I think whether there was air bubbles getting in or just with the loss of fluid, it felt a little, we'll say, limp. As far as the bike goes, I mean, like I said, this is the first time I've ever ridden a 125. And I'm starting to like the bike more and more. I mean, for those of you guys that have ridden a KTM or even a Husky 125 or even a 125 in general, now I know what you guys are talking about. So this thing, it's got plenty of power. Out in the area that I'm at, it's a lot of desert. I mean, obviously I live in New Mexico, a lot of desert, but out here, I would say it's more for four-wheelers or even like four-wheel drive vehicles, lots of ruts, big swoops, large hills. So it's kind of hard to get it out of like even third gear. But first and second, this thing is just absolutely taking off. Try not to lift the front tires. So that's it for today. Appreciate you guys watching or tuning in. Again, this is a 2016 Husqvarna TE 125. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you guys have any questions or even any input on the bike, let me know down in the comments. Otherwise, this is Fahrenheit Motorsports. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys take it easy.